Welcome to part 7 of Beyond Two Souls. Now we're going to the homeless chapter, which is probably my favourite chapter in the game, in all honesty. There's a lot about it that I like. There's the general thematics, the area that it's set in, but most importantly it's the general character interactions, but we'll get more into that when we meet more of the characters. For the time being, we're in another beautiful looking snowy situation, area, whatever you want to call it. And it's just another case of this game's snow visuals looking really, really good. This opening section here actually kind of reminds me of the opening from Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy. And that's not because of anything that's going to happen here. It's purely because you got this whole town, city type area covered in snow. At this point in the story, Jodie is about 22 years old, and this is set after all the CIA stuff that was implied in earlier chapters. And at this point we still don't have like proper context for why she's on the run from the CIA or anything, but at this point you know enough of the general timeline for you to be kind of okay with blanks. At least I am. Like, you get this vibe that because you now have the general skeleton of the story, now you're asking the right questions that makes you curious about what's happened, as opposed to the intro, which was just bad, where you just didn't know what the hell you were doing. Now it's time to possibly panic someone who cares about us.
Nathan?
Jodie, where are you?
They're back. They're all around me.
Good God, Jodie, what's happening?
I'm tired.
Now, this is something that you just really shouldn't do. If you're ringing someone with a panicked voice, you be as clear as possible. You don't leave any sort of ambiguity. Because Nathan's now in a panic, not knowing what's going on. Like, you don't do that. I guess it's probably a thing that's done here to highlight the fact that Jodie's in this kind of distressed situation where she isn't thinking straight. But it's just one of the things I kind of think about. It's these entities following her that it's kind of implied she was talking about in the phone call just now. I like that we don't actually have much context for the personality of this character who's going through the bin right now, because all we can get about him is that he's a homeless man who's obviously looking for something, and that kind of creates this feeling that you're not sure whether it's a good idea strike right away to use Aiden to grab his attention towards Jodie. And in a way it does kind of play on stereotypical character representation, because quite often in media when a homeless character is shown, they're shown to be some kind of, not necessarily a threat, but a kind of unpleasantness towards slightly better off characters. Whereas here, Stan, the character in question, as a heads up, he's not at all threatening towards Jodie. He's shown throughout this entire chapter as a really caring individual. The fact it's such a subversion is, I actually quite like that. The foreshadowing intensifies.
Come on, girl. and think you'd never wake up.
Where am I?
You're in my place, kid. Not very luxurious, but quiet. Found you in the streets a few days ago. You're in pretty bad shape.
You've been taking care of me?
Ah, come on, somebody had to. I couldn't leave you lying there, dying like a dog in the street.
I really like Stan as a character, and the fact that he's just taken Jodie in like this without any kind of concern for his own well-being, given he knows nothing about who she is or what she does, that just shows him as one of these really caring, kind type of people. And he's actually a huge change of pace now after some of the main chapters we've had earlier on in the game. We've had like CIA agents or whoever, like police and that, chasing after Jodie, and like we've seen all the entities attacking her and that. To have like a friendly voice in the plot is just really refreshing at this particular point in the game.
How long you been on the streets, kid?
A few weeks? Something like that.
About 3 years for me. I don't know how many times I thought I was gonna snuff it. Just go completely nuts. But I guess you can get used to anything. Even live with nothing. You want to run? Parents?
And that's what they're doing here, is they're deliberately leaving a lot of things ambiguous just because they don't want to
No, nothing.
fill in the chronological order of the game.
Nah, it's like, it's none of my goddamn business. As long as you ain't killed somebody, it's fine by me.
Like even that there, they've left that kind of ambiguous, and that's a kind of device that is really good for making you ask questions about what you're missing so far. And to get back to that a little bit, because I kind of didn't want to dwell too much in the opening, when you've got a story that's out of order, like it shows you the entire plot in different chunks that aren't a linear format, the idea of what you want to do with that kind of narrative is you want to give people things to kind of cling on to and get attached to, and so they instinctively want to know the rest. Like they've got a huge curiosity as to why these characters do what they do, why these things are happening, and general things like that. And this game starts achieving it around this point, because now we've got enough of an outline of how this story works, like what the major points in Jodie's story are, that we kind of want to fill in the blanks, and we want to know why these things are happening, because by this time we've had enough given to us straight up. The problem I kind of had with it earlier on is that we didn't have things to cling on to. We just saw these things happening, and we just really didn't know why they were happening, and because we were just seeing these events, there wasn't really much incentive to care about them. So I think this game's one that it takes a bit too long to get going for this kind of plot to work. And now I'm not sure exactly how you would go about fixing that straight out. Like, I guess what could have been done was to put maybe more focus on the stuff as Jodie as a child, like discovering her powers and that, but make more notable events happen during that time. Or maybe have some more kind of foreshadowing towards the CIA.
Alright, he drinks a little bit too much, but he's a
But
good guy.
I will admit, I am not a writer, so I am merely armchair theorising here. I really don't know that much about writing a plot.
Tuesday.
But it just does feel like there's some stuff that we're not really filled in with at the start that we probably should have been.
I wish you hadn't have saved me.
I know, kid. I know. But you know, we all go through that.
But in this area so far, we've already got now this vibe that there's this little friendship group, almost like a family between these people here that are all looking out for each other. And makes such a welcoming atmosphere for the story to take place. And that is the main reason why this is my favourite chapter.
Yeah.
Why did you help me?
Wasn't gonna let you freeze to death. I was able to help you, so I did. It's no big deal.
This does kind of give you the impression that there might be some, I guess, trust issues from Jodie's perspective, or at least kind of discomfort with other people at this point in the chronology. Because she really didn't seem to get there why Stan had just helped her out just to help her.
I got no more food left. Got nothing left to eat. I gotta do something about it. You wanna see how things work around here?
Yeah, okay.
This chapter does give a good kind of impression on just how rough this lifestyle must be. But at the same time, it kind of shows both the high points and the low points. And that's something that must be pretty difficult to convey properly. Because there's a general overall message I'm getting here. The idea that people can make an awful situation that little bit more bearable. At least that is my sole personal interpretation. That might not be the intended one. But just making such a respectable character who's in this situation, it kind of gives that vibe off.
Hours? Take a week.
I'm starving.
Gonna have to hold on until we get some cash. Think about something else.
I'm so cold. Yeah, Stan. I don't think it makes sense both of us being in the same place. I'm gonna go try over there.
Good luck, kid.
Now, you might notice this is one of the longer parts of the game. And that is something that I really do kind of appreciate that they've done with this chapter, because this kind of setup needs that little bit more time to develop compared to some of the other chapters in the game, because we don't really want to spend an hour at a time in the lab when Jodie's a child. That'd get boring really quickly. Whereas when you got this sort of storyline going on, it works. It gives you time to get to know the main characters that are going to be a part of the story. I like it. Now, when you're walking around in this section here, at one point there is a shot of a man reading a newspaper. I can't remember exactly where it is, but it's somewhere around this general area, because I didn't think to show it off when I was recording. But there's this guy reading a newspaper, and that particular newspaper, if you get up close to it with a camera, it actually has a story about the origami killer, in the paper. And I'm not sure whether that's just an Easter egg for the sake of an Easter egg, or whether this chapter's supposed to be set in the same universe. This game's supposed to be set in the same universe, and this particular chapter is set during the time of the origami killer investigations. Now it's time to meet up with a complete dickhead.
You looking for a few extra dollars? Maybe I can help you out.
You wanna help me?
Well, I figure I'll do you a favor. You do me a favor. $10 says you come around the back with me.
$10? Okay.
All right. Follow me, baby.
You know, this really isn't a good idea, Jodie, regardless of, like, situation. I know you need money, but this probably isn't going to end well at all. Press down to go down. Thanks for the useful QuickTime event prompts there.
No. I can't.
No. What you mean, no? There ain't no such thing as no.
Now we're gonna see something that is kind of... I can see why it probably could rub people the wrong way. And this happens a couple of times in the game as well, the fact that we've got this rape implication for, like, purely to get this shock emotion in. It's not the most pleasant way of forcing an extreme emotion. Granted, I don't think there's supposed to be anything to read into this compared to some possible interpretations, but it's something that David Cage does a lot, and now it's showing off here because of this one thing is a huge social problem and that. But if you remember in Heavy Rain, the way David Cage wanted to get instant sad is by killing a child. That's the whole Jason thing. So he's used like a shock tactic to get cheap emotion of sadness with a child dying, whereas now trying to get the same extreme emotion of fear with little effort by having a rape implication, it's just probably not the best way of doing it. And like, even if you take the fact that it's obviously such a disgusting social issue that goes on out of it, that's still weak narrative.
Just about froze my fingers off trying to play it before. You want to try? Be my guest.
But it is a much safer way of earning a bit more money on the street.
Sorry eyes, they cut through the bone, make it hard.
Now this song that Jodie's playing here, it's a song called Lost Cause by Beck.
Leave you here, wearing your wound.
And for this particular performance, there's actually a video out there of Ellen Page doing the motion capture with the guitar for the game, and I'm not too familiar with her work to know whether it's the sort of thing she would have had to play guitar for the first time to do or not. I'm not sure if she's a guitarist at all, like, outside of this, but I kind of always find it fascinating seeing motion capture videos done. You know, it's like the way the cameras pick up the little markers on the suits and stuff. It's always pretty interesting to watch. And kind of seeing her with the guitar there, it reminds me of some of the old Neversoft videos from when they had guest stars in Guitar Hero, just like miming the songs on guitars. For this video, she's using an actual real guitar for the sake of the motion capture, whereas as far as I recall from the Neversoft ones, they had a celebrity they were featuring in the game playing like some wooden cut out of a guitar that wasn't a real guitar. And Jodie's been clearly singing for a very long time with how dark it's got now.
Thanks. We've got enough. Let's go see how Stan's doing. How's it going?
Not great. You?
Fucking minted, mate.
Holy shit. Jodie, where did you get all that cash?
I found it. There was a guy with a guitar, and I play guitar. I mean, I made it. I made a few bucks.
Oh, wow, that's something. That's really something. Stay right here. I'm gonna go get us some food.
Now, there aren't going to be anything that could possibly go wrong at this moment in time, could there? Yeah, this sounds like trouble.
I don't want any trouble.
Trouble? Trouble? That is disrespectful, old man. We look like trouble. Filming this ad?
Yeah, I'm on it, man.
Fuck.
See that? How the asshole kind of just folded right up.
Back off, and you won't get hurt.
Okay, so now it's time for a proper fight.
It's like Bum's got a girlfriend.
You can kind of tell someone's a twat when they're going out of the way to film any kind of conflict, can't you? It's one thing to actually be a dickhead and start fights in the first place, but when you want to archive it for personal use, like, that's when you're just a complete cunt, for lack of better words. Well, I've got to say, as much as I dislike these motion prompts that they keep using, I do like seeing Jodie beat the shit out of people like this. I guess I just get some kind of positive vibe from seeing complete pricks being put in their place. Something that I just really like to see.
Fuck! The bitch is crazy! See you later, bitch. I'm out of here!
How did you do that?
I learned how to fight in the army.
Yeah, but there was 4 of them. Is one of you?
4 assholes. I did not know how to fight. Let's get out of here before they come back.
All right.
I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to go for with the look of what looks like a kind of suicide attempt with Jodie looking onto the road. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be some kind of symbolism or whether it's just there.
Come on, Jodie. Help yourself. Hey, I even got a bit of chocolate for dessert.
Chocolate? I don't reckon I even remember what that tastes like.
Now, it's this little meal scene here that really reinforces the fact that this group of people are like really tight knit as a family.
If it wasn't for Jodie, I'd still be lying there. You should have seen it. There were 4 guys. Jodie kicked herself some ass.
Did you know those guys?
Yeah, I've seen them before. Yeah, those kids come down here looking for a one-way fight. They got them phones with the cameras, and Oh, I guess they like to show off. Men with their friends.
Crazy motherfuckers. They got me once. Still haven't recovered.
Hey, when is your baby due?
Next month. She hasn't been kicking for days. I hope she's alright.
This is like a way to subtly bring in
You don't want it.
something that you can kind of already tell is gonna be a plot point. Because obviously you got these people living in this tiny little hideaway, and you know that with a baby coming along, there could be some problems.
Fucking cold.
Drugs.
Walter, how did you end up here?
I was a high school teacher. Till I stopped being able to pay back the loans. Lost my house, my job, all my friends. Ended up here on Dead End Drive.
How about you, Jodie? You haven't said much about yourself. How did you end up on the street?
Some things that I'm not proud of. Until I realized I was being used.
Now, I'm not going to go too much into this because I don't particularly want to
Strange.
spoil anything, but I've done some things I'm not proud of, and the line about being used in that is a direct reference to something that will happen in one of the chapters that's set chronologically before this. And I think it's a neat little way of leaving it ambiguous enough to not flat out spoil you, but also enough for you to be able to piece it into the plot when that chapter does happen.
He's here right now.
Looks like Jimmy isn't the only one with a drug problem.
I do like that aside from that like one little kind of jokey comment, these people just all seem completely non-judgmental. Like they've all got their own backgrounds, and some of the things like Jimmy being on like a drug user and Jodie obviously having powers and things, these are things that would normally be shunned by a wider society, but this little community of people, they really don't mind as long as they're there for each other. It just makes the characters so much more likeable. Now it's time to fight with the controls for a bit. Seriously, these sections are so annoying to get to work right. You got to line the thing up so the blue line feeds directly into Jodie, but it can be a complete bitch to try to get right. As you can see with me struggling here.
Jodie, you alright?
Stan, my love.
No, Jodie, stop that. That's not funny.
It's been a long time, Stan. 4 long years.
Nancy, can't be you.
It is me, my love. I never left. I've been here beside you all this time.
My God.
It breaks my heart to see you so lost, so desperate.
It's hard, Nancy. So hard. I'm empty without you, my love. I'm so empty.
Stop living in the past, Stan. Nothing's gonna change what we had together. And now you have to start a new life. Go back to work. Fall in love. Just be happy again. For me, Stan. Do it for me.
I miss you. God help me, I miss you.
Now, while that ability might feel a little bit forced as a way for getting backstory out of characters, like having Aiden be able to read what the entities of their loved ones are saying to him, I can look past that because of how powerful it is when it works.
It's a miracle.
And normally I do just write off cheap plot tools, I guess, for lack of better words, but when it works, and here it really works well, because now you can kind of see just from Stan's reaction there how much that means to him to be able to hear Nancy's voice again. And yeah, I like that power.
Tuesday? Is it?
She's got contractions.
We need an ambulance. We need a whole goddamn hospital.
No hospital. Ah! They'll take my baby. No one's gonna take my baby.
Jesus Christ, girl. We ain't got nothing here. Ain't got as much as a blanket, hot water. We got nothing.
My baby. Oh, I don't want my baby to die.
Hold on. Calm down. Find a way. All right, Jimmy. Down the road always is this old abandoned building. Figure out a way inside.
On my way.
Go. Walter, you sit tight and stay here with Tuesday, okay? Jodie, come on. We gotta go get everything we need. Now, you girl, don't be having no baby till we get back, all right?
I'm trying, but you better damn well hurry.
Jodie, come on!
This is where we kind of see how much these characters' connections with each other have weight-wise behind them. Because like now we're in pure panic mode because obviously Tuesday's about to have a baby. So just seeing them all work together like this is kind of what everything else has been adding up to, really.
I want this baby to have a chance. Even a tiny little chance in this big fucked up world. I want it to be warm and have diapers and a bottle and decent clothes like any other human being. I won't let it be born in the trash under a bridge. I won't.
Okay, so what's your plan?
I don't have one. But we'll figure it out. Come on. There's all we need in there. We just gotta get in.
Right, so what's gonna happen here is we're gonna break our way into the supermarket, and there is a trophy you can get in this section here. It's called Smart Thief, and basically what you got to do is you got to get in with having all these security cameras disabled and the alarms and all that kind of stuff. You got to basically not cause any sort of detection.
Must be a switch for the security.
But they have kind of thought through a lot of the different security features that would be in this shop. So major props to them for, I guess, the level of realism here. I say realism in a scene where we're using our entity power to break in, but I think you kind of get what I mean in that respect.
Alarm off. We'll save us some trouble later.
Damn, how the hell did you do that?
No time to explain. Let's just take.
Again, that's Stan being completely non-judgmental. Like, I would imagine a lot of people in that situation would have just completely freaked the fuck out. But no, he's just, okay, we've got to do what we've got to do. And that's got to take some emotional strength to act like
Get the
that.
hell out of here.
Oh, there you are. Hurry. Her water broke.
Did you get into the building I told you about?
Yeah, Walter's there with her. Come on, we need to hurry.
something else that I haven't really brought up is Jodie's walking speed here adds to the general feel of what's going on, because there are obviously panics, but the way that she walks and stops and walks and stops, it feels like how someone would act in this kind of situation. But I don't necessarily just mean the fact that someone's about to have a child, but also the being deprived but trying to get by. I'm not sure what that graffiti on the wall's supposed to actually say. Now, I know I'm kind of fumbling around a little bit here, but it is possible to lose track of where you're meant to be going inside this house. As someone who is particularly squeamish, as in someone who's kind of feels a kind of discomfort from the idea of like bodily treatment, childbirth, that kind of thing, this does take me possibly more aback than the typical person would. It's something that this game's already done once before, as I mentioned in the hunting chapter where we had to fight the dogs. So that's something else that makes me feel uncomfortable, but I appreciate that there are scenes like this, because to me it has that stronger connection. In fact, that this is something stressful happening, as we can obviously see from Tuesday's reactions. It's putting her under a lot of distress, and to have that, I guess, extra sense of connection to the situation because of my own personal, I don't like using this word, but I guess triggers, it just adds so much more to the scene for me. And I guess that is something that some people would kind of take away from this game's general presentation, the fact that there might be distressing things, but it adds to the atmosphere, and as a game that sells itself as an interactive drama, it adds this whole new level of interactivity, and I can only give it points in that regard.
I'll just clean up this old mattress. Hang in there. Okay, you can do it. Oh, breathe. Okay? Breathe, Tuesday. Just keep breathing in and out. In and out. I am breathing. I'm fucking breathing. I'm doing fine. Okay, you're doing just fine. Come on! Push! Push! You're nearly there, okay? I can see it! I can see the head! I can see the head! Just push! Push!
I don't think it really needs to be said that this is a really unrealistically clean childbirth. Because like it wouldn't happen quite as smoothly in real life. That's the kind of impression I get.
I gotta cut the cord. Babe.
And this is something that I was made aware of a little while ago, that the way the umbilical cord there wasn't properly clamped before being cut, that's something that a doctor wouldn't do, like in a proper childbirth in like an actual clean hospital. And the problem that doing it the way that it's just been done can cause is that it can possibly cause like skin discoloration. Not sure exactly why. I really don't understand a lot of health related things, but it's just something else that's like skipped over for the sake of not making this disgusting.
I'll go get the others.
But really, why does the miracle of childbirth have to be so fucking ugly?
Wow. It's so tiny.
It's a girl. Her name's Zoe.
Shit, man, she's goddamn amazing.
Hey, watch your language, Walter. She understands everything you say.
She's more than amazing. She's magnificent.
I'm not particularly a child person. I'm really not good with kids at all, but I can see why it's referred to as the miracle of childbirth here, because even though this group of people have absolutely nothing, they've got low financial stability, you can tell they're all so happy that this child's now with them. Like, it's not often I'll give David Cage credit for pulling off emotion correctly, but this whole feeling of joy in this one scene here, like in particular, is just so well done. But of course, it can't last, can it? Now this is the section that can be a little bit dangerous, because we've got to wake up everyone and make sure that everyone gets out of the building in one piece. And this part, it is actually possible for characters to die permanently.
No, come with you.
No, I'm going alone.
It's Walter and Jimmy who can potentially die here,
I said get
and if you let them die, you unlock a trophy called A Better World. And I'm not sure if that's intended to be a kind of mean-spirited, cynical comment about them, or whether it's a reference to the Infraworld, but that's what it's called. If there's one thing I really need to compliment here, it's Ellen Page's portrayal of Jodie in this panic state, because you can tell there's legitimate fear in her voice there. And I'm not sure who plays Walter, but his voice there as well has a similar kind of thing going on where it's legitimate panic. And it's got to be hard when you're voice acting characters to be able to pull off that kind of panicked voice without... Because obviously a recording studio, you're not going to face much like fear or being like terrifying situations. So to be able to pull that off, that's a sign of good acting, and I can only respect that. There's a certain degree of like psychological examination here, because you've got to balance out the situation they're in with the kind of feeling of being doomed, and that might explain why Jimmy was kind of terrified and sticking himself against the wall for that moment there. He's got like 1,000 things going around his head in one hit.
Jodie! Come on, let's get out of here.
If you're wondering why I'm not talking too much during this sequence, I think it's one of these sequences that you just got to kind of soak it in for yourself. Just get the full effect.
We're stuck! We're stuck! You're gonna have to trust me, okay? I need you now!
What I'm wondering is, could Aiden have not used that particular power from the get-go here, or is this kind of a thing where they're trying to highlight the independence of Aiden and Jodie as characters? Because we saw him do this same pushing through a dangerous situation before in the hunting chapter when Jodie was on the bike breaking through the police barricades. So I might be giving Cage too much credit here when I say this, but it could be deliberately to try and show Aiden and Jodie as separate minds and that they're not always going to work together perfectly.
Get out of here!
Sometimes getting yourself out of a dangerous situation is harder than helping other people out of it, and that's what's happening here. Because really going up when everywhere's on fire is really not the smartest move, but there's nothing else that Jodie can really do. Gotta love it when potential life or death is dependent on whether QuickTime events are done. And when I say potential life or death, I mean story-wise, not game-wise, because Jodie's the one who's like guaranteed to survive, despite what it might show you here.
What are you doing?
Why are you doing this?
Jodie!
Help me. Jodie, come on.
So yeah, because we get into the end of the section that's specifically together with these characters here, I should probably wrap up and say that I really like this entire group of characters. I like their interactions with one another. I like the fact that they so obviously care about each other so much. And I like the general atmosphere of the entire chapter, the fact that these people have basically nothing to their names, but they still get by just because they've got each other. It's my favourite chapter in the game for very good reasons. And granted, if there were more chapters like this, with this level of character development and such, I would probably like this game a lot more overall.
Oxygen! We need oxygen! We're losing her.
The way they're gradually muffling the voices more and more is really effective, I think.
Don't leave us.
think this is all supposed to be symbolic with the entities and all the video clips and that flying around here. You can control the camera here, by the way. If you move around, you see parts of different things. It's, I guess, too pretentious for my liking, but that's me. And we are seeing clips of things that we haven't seen yet, despite them having happened, just because of the non-linear story path. When it comes down to it, the animation, despite being pretentious bollocks, it does look nice at least. It's well animated.
Am I dead?
Is it time to go to the TV world? We're gonna meet Teddy.
Wait, I'm down. Let me see her. Just once. That's just my baby. Bring her back. I've changed my mind. I want my baby.
Get her quickly.
Please.
Get the baby out of here.
I want to see her. Please let me see her. I want my child. Please let me see her.
Now, if we're being truthful about it, what we've just seen looks absolutely horrifying. And that's because it is. And again, that's something else that because it's sparks that kind of reaction, it adds that extra level of interactivity. And so when we find out more about what we've just watched later on, it just makes it so much more powerful. If I'm gonna do the obvious but completely unnecessary explanation of my interpretation of symbolism, I think the idea of showing different clips on the TV screen there is the idea of the way the story's laid out, in that you're basically getting different episodes of Jodie's life. We're not necessarily shown them in order, but we're shown these different segments of her lifespan. It's kind of an interesting approach to this kind of story. Not the most clear explanation of this story, but it's an explanation of the story nonetheless.
Aiden? Why, Aiden? He didn't want to come back.
I'll tell you what, hospitals are such depressing places, and the fact we've been pulled away from the, I guess, warmth of the little, I guess, hideaway that the little homeless group were in, it's just such a stark contrast, and it really lowers the tone. It really it's a harsh break. And that's what they're going for. So that's... I keep saying it works for these kind of things, but it does just work. Like it aims for a thing and it does the job.
That she knows what you did for her.
Granted, it may be a little bit too kind of sharp of a turn for it to work instantly, like they were probably hoping for it to.
Yeah, that's her. Concussions and skull fracture. She's
been in a coma for several months.
Can we see her?
No. Are you family?
We're with the CIA. This girl is wanted for treason, so we have an arrest warrant if that's what you need.
Okay. I'll take you to her.
Desperate times clearly call for desperate measures, and we've got to get away from these people no matter what.
So, where is she?
That's weird. This is a room. She should be here.
Shit. She went out the window.
That's impossible. We're on the 5th floor. She couldn't go out the window.
Call it in. That girl cannot get away.
Now what we're seeing here is the lead-in to what we saw first in the game, the broken chapter. We're coming a little bit full circle here. Except not really, because there's still loads of stuff later on, but I think you get what I mean, really.
Everything all right? Ma'am?
Join me next time for part 8 of Beyond Two Souls.